You have seen it 100 times. You walk out across your lawn on a summer morning, coffee in hand, and there it is again. That little mound of loose soil sitting right in the middle of the grass, like somebody emptied a flower pot on your yard overnight. And you know exactly what happened last time. You went to the shed, you got the spray or the granules or the bottle of whatever the fellow at the store swore would take care of it. You soaked that mound until it went dark. You watched the ants scatter and curl up, and you stood there feeling pretty good about yourself because you could see it working right in front of your eyes. And then 2 weeks later, you walked out with your coffee and the mound was back. Maybe in the exact same spot. Maybe 3 feet to the left, which is somehow worse, because now it feels personal. And underneath that mound, the grass is gone. Not thin, gone. Bare dirt in a circle, and it stays bare all season long. Now, here is what I want to tell you, and I want you to hear it before anything else, because everything in this video hangs on it. That spray did not fail because it was cheap. It did not fail because you did not use enough of it. It failed because it was never going to work in the first place, and the man who sold it to you either knew that or should have. You have been killing the wrong ants every single time. And in a few minutes, I am going to show you the one spoonful that actually reaches the ants that matter, why it has to work slowly to work at all, and how to get that bare circle in your lawn growing back thicker than the grass around it. But first, I have to explain what is actually going on under that mound, because once you see it, you will never buy another bottle of ant spray as long as you live. And before we go on, do me one small favor that costs you nothing. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, because that is the only reason I get to keep making these. And I promise you in return that I will not sell you anything, and I will tell you straight when something does not work, even when everybody else says it does. So let us start with the thing nobody explains. When you look at an ant mound in your yard, you are not looking at a nest. You are looking at the front porch. That mound of loose soil is nothing but the dirt the ants have carried up and out while they dug. It is the spoil pile. It is what is left over. The actual colony is underneath it, and depending on the species in the soil, it can run down anywhere from a few inches to several feet, spreading out sideways into chambers and tunnels that can cover an area much larger than the mound you see on the surface. And here is the number that changes everything. The ants you can see are a small fraction of the colony. Most of the workers are underground at any given moment, tending the young, hauling soil, storing food, or simply resting between shifts. What is walking around on top of that mound is a work crew that stepped outside. So when you spray the mound, what actually happens? You kill the crew that was outside. That is it. That is the whole result. And to a colony, that crew is expendable. I do not mean that unkindly. I mean it literally. In an ant colony, worker ants are the cheapest thing there is. They are produced constantly. They live a matter of weeks or months, and losing a batch of them is a bad day, not a disaster. Because the colony is not the workers. The colony is the queen. And the queen is not on that mound. The queen is down in a chamber underground. And in most species, she will never come to the surface again after the day she starts that nest. She does one job for the rest of her life, and she does it around the clock. She lays eggs. Depending on the species, that can run into the hundreds every single day. So picture what you actually did with that spray bottle. You killed some workers on the surface. Down below, the queen kept laying. Within days, new workers hatched and matured. Within 2 weeks, the colony had rebuilt its surface crew and gone right back to digging. And the dirt they pushed up as they repaired the damage is the mound you found on your lawn the next time you walked out with your coffee. You did not fight that colony. You gave it a haircut. And there is one more thing worth knowing about that queen, because it explains why this problem feels so stubborn. She has probably been down there a lot longer than you think. A colony does not appear overnight. It starts small, often with a single queen who dug in after a mating flight, and it takes a season or more before it is big enough to push up a mound you would notice. So by the time you are standing over it with a spray bottle, that nest has usually been established for a year or more, with a chamber system already built out and a workforce already deep. And queens are not short lived insects. Depending on the species, an ant queen can go on laying for several years, and in some species, considerably longer than that. She is not a bug that will die of old age next month if you just wait it out. So when people tell me they have been fighting the same mound in the same corner of the yard for 3 summers running, I believe them completely. It is very likely the same colony with the same queen, and every treatment they have applied has hit the workers and never once got anywhere near her. That is not bad luck. That is the method failing exactly the way it was always going to. And now I have to tell you the part that is genuinely worse. Because with some species, the spray does not just fail, it makes the problem grow. Certain kinds of ants respond to a serious disturbance of the nest by splitting up. If the colony is attacked, or flooded, or poisoned at the surface, part of it can pick up and move, sometimes taking a queen along, and start again somewhere nearby. Some species have more than one queen in a colony to begin with, which makes this even easier for them. So you go out with your bottle, you hit that mound hard, and 3 weeks later, you have got 2 mounds 20 feet apart where you used to have one. You did not solve anything. You divided it. And this is the reason so many people end up convinced their yard is cursed. They are not doing nothing. They are doing something over and over, and every round of it either accomplishes nothing or quietly makes the situation worse. Now let us talk about that bare circle of dirt, because this is the part that actually bothers most people. Frankly, most of us could live and let live with a few ants. What we cannot live with is a lawn that looks like it has the mange. So why does the grass die under a mound? 3 reasons, and none of them is what people assume. The first one is burial, plain and simple. Grass is a plant, and a plant needs light on its leaves. When ants push up a layer of loose soil on top of the crowns of your grass, they smother it. A thin dusting, the grass grows through. A mound 2 or 3 inches deep, sitting there for weeks, the grass underneath runs out of light and dies. Same thing that happens if you leave a board lying on the lawn for a month. The second reason is the soil itself. The dirt in that mound came from well below the surface. It is subsoil, and it is not the same material as your topsoil. It is usually lower in organic matter, it often has a different texture, and it does not hold moisture the same way. So even after you knock the mound flat, you have left a patch of poor material sitting where your good soil used to be, and seed does not establish well in it. And the third reason is drainage, which almost nobody thinks about. All those tunnels underneath change how water moves through that spot. Rain that would have soaked in and stayed available to the grass roots can run straight down through the tunnel network instead. So the mound area dries out faster than the lawn around it, and dry plus buried plus poor soil is not a fight the grass is going to win. And here's the good news buried inside all of that, and it is the reason for the second half of the title of this video. None of those 3 things is permanent damage. Nothing has been poisoned. Nothing has been sterilized. The grass did not die of disease. It died of burial and neglect. And a spot like that, once the colony is gone and the soil is fixed properly, does not just recover point, it can come back thicker than the lawn around it, because you have just given that patch fresh attention, fresh seed, and fresh soil contact that the rest of your yard has not had in years. I will walk you through exactly how to do that repair, step by step, in the second part. But first we have to deal with the colony, because if you fix the grass and leave the queen down there, you are going to be doing this again next month. So let us go through what people actually try, and I am going to be straight with you about every one of these, including the popular ones, because there is more nonsense written about killing ants than about almost any other yard problem I know of. But before I do, I owe you one honest word about the title of this video, because I am not going to pretend otherwise. Destroying every anthill in your yard is not actually the goal you want. I know that is not what you came here to hear. Stay with me for 30 seconds because this will save you work rather than give you more. Ants are on balance working for you out there. Every one of those tunnel networks is doing something a lawn aeration service charges money for. Those tunnels move air down to the root zone. They carry water deeper into the soil. They pull organic matter down from the surface and mix it into the ground. Turf specialists have known for a long time that soil with a healthy ant population is generally better structured soil. And they are hunting. Ants are predators, and what they are mostly hunting is the small, soft-bodied things living in your thatch layer. Larvae, eggs, grubs, the very things that eat grass roots and that people spend real money treating for. A yard with no ants in it at all is not a healthier yard. It is a yard where something else moves in. So the honest goal is not 0 ants. The honest goal is this. There are probably 2 or 3 mounds in your yard doing visible damage, sitting where you walk, or sitting where you can see them from the porch. And those are the ones worth dealing with. The colonies out along the fence line, under the shrubs, at the back corner where nobody goes, leave them alone. They are not costing you anything, and they are earning their keep. Deal with the mounds that are actually hurting your grass. Not every ant in the county. You will get a better lawn and spend a fraction of the effort. There is one exception to everything I just said, and it is a serious one. And if you live in the southern part of the country, you already know what I am about to say. I will come to it in the second part, because it deserves proper time, and it is the one situation where the friendly advice stops. Right, now let us start with the ones that do not work at all. Number 1. Grits, cornmeal, or dry cream of wheat sprinkled on the mound. You have heard this one. The story goes that the ants carry the dry grain back down, eat it, it swells up with moisture inside them, and they burst. Some versions of the story get quite vivid about it. It is not true, not even slightly. And the reason it is not true is a genuinely interesting fact about ants that also happens to be the key to the method that does work. So pay attention to this one. Adult worker ants can barely eat solid food. Their bodies are built with a very narrow connection between the mouth and the gut, and solid particles above a certain size simply cannot pass. Adult ants live on liquids. When a worker finds food, she takes in the liquid portion, carries it home in a storage part of her gut, and then brings it back up to feed the other members of the colony mouth to mouth. Solid food is handled by taking it to the larvae, the grubs, which can process solids and then give liquid nourishment back to the adults. So a grain of dry corn is not going to swell up inside a worker ant because it is not going inside her in the first place. Mostly it just sits on your lawn until it rains. Number 2, coffee grounds. Same category. People swear by it, and I understand why. Because coffee grounds are free and it feels like you are doing something useful with them. But there is no good evidence that spreading grounds on a mound kills a colony or drives one out. Your used grounds are a decent addition to a compost pile. They are not an insecticide. Number 3, baking soda mixed with powdered sugar. The idea here is that the sugar attracts them, they eat the soda with it, and the soda reacts inside them. It is the same fantasy as the grits, dressed up in different clothes. It runs into the exact same problem, which is that these are solid powders and adult ants live on liquids. I would not spend my afternoon on it. Number 4, vinegar. Now this one I will give partial credit, but not for the reason people think. Ants navigate by scent. When a worker finds food, she lays down a chemical trail on the way home, and the other workers follow it. That is why you see them marching in a line across your patio like they are following a rope. They are. Vinegar wipes out that trail. So if you have ants coming into the kitchen along the baseboard, wiping the path down with a vinegar solution genuinely helps because it erases the roadmap and they have to start over. But understand what that is. That is erasing a trail. It is not killing a colony. Pour vinegar on a mound in your yard and you have annoyed them and wasted a bottle of vinegar. The queen is fine. Number 5, and this one is not a myth so much as a waste of a Saturday, simply raking the mound flat or running over it with the mower or stamping it down. I know it is satisfying. It looks fixed for about a day and a half, but you have not touched the colony at all. You have moved some dirt around on top of it, and you have very likely triggered the repair response, which means they will be pushing fresh soil up within 24 hours. Now let us talk about the ones that actually do something, starting with the one everybody's grandfather swore by: boiling water. And I am going to be honest with you about this one in a way that most people are not, because there are two sides to it, and you deserve both. Does it work? Partly. Sometimes. Pouring a large volume of boiling water directly into an ant mound does kill ants, and if you get enough volume down into the chambers and you happen to reach the queen, you can genuinely finish a colony. On small, shallow, newly established mounds, it has a reasonable success rate. But here are the 3 things nobody tells you. The first is that it very often does not reach the queen. On an established colony with chambers running well below the surface, the water cools as it goes down and spreads sideways through the tunnels. You scald the upper part of the nest, and the queen sits it out down below, and then you are right back where you started. Except now you have also disturbed them, and you know what disturbance can trigger. The second thing is that boiling water kills your grass immediately and completely. Whatever green is around that mound is going brown, and now instead of a bare circle, you have a bigger bare circle. If your whole reason for doing this is the appearance of your lawn, you have just paid for the cure with the disease. And the third thing is the one I want you to actually take seriously, because I am talking to grown adults here, and I would rather say it than not. Carrying a full pot of boiling water across a lawn is genuinely dangerous. Think it through. You are carrying several pounds of water at a temperature that will cause a serious burn on contact. You are walking on uneven ground. There may be a hose, a root, a dip in the turf, a dog that has decided to be helpful. You are probably not wearing boots. And a scald injury across the top of the foot or the shin is not a minor thing in any age, and it heals a good deal slower once you are past 60. I am not going to tell you never to do it. Plenty of people have done it for years without a problem. But if you do, use a pot with a good lid and a solid handle, wear closed shoes, take a clear path, and do not carry it further than you have to. And honestly, given that it kills your grass and often misses the queen anyway, I think there is a better way. Which brings us to the whole point of this video, because there is one approach that solves the queen problem, and it is the only one that does, and it works on a principle that is the exact opposite of what your instincts tell you. Here it is. You do not want to kill ants quickly. Read that again because everything depends on it. You want a treatment that works so slowly that the ants do not realize anything is wrong. And once you understand why, the whole thing becomes obvious. Remember what I told you about how ants eat. A worker goes out, finds a food source, takes in the liquid, carries it home in her gut, and then feeds it back up to the other ants in the colony, mouth to mouth, and they pass it along again. Food that comes in at the entrance gets shared outward through the colony, from worker to worker, to the ants tending the young, and eventually to the ants that feed the queen herself. That is not a flaw in their system. That is their system. It is how the whole colony gets fed from a food source that only a few of them ever visit. And it means the colony has built you a delivery service that goes exactly where you cannot. So the strategy is not to attack the mound. The strategy is to hand the workers something they think is wonderful, let them carry it down, and let the colony distribute it for you, all the way to the chamber where the queen is sitting. That is what a bait is. And that one spoonful is the whole method. But it only works if it is slow. Because think about what happens if it is fast. You put out something that kills a worker in 10 minutes. She takes a load, heads home, and dies on the way. Or dies just inside the entrance. She never shares it. Worse, other ants find the bodies piling up around the food, and ants are perfectly capable of learning to avoid a place where that keeps happening. You have taught the colony to stay away from the one thing that could have reached the queen. A fast poison kills the messenger. A slow one delivers the message. So what you want is something that lets a worker feed normally, walk home normally, share the load normally, and only then, hours or days later, begins to take effect. By that time, the material has already moved through the colony, it has already reached the brood, it has already reached the queen, and when the queen goes, the colony is finished because nothing is replacing those workers anymore. It does not collapse overnight. You will see activity for a while yet, but it is over. And in a couple of weeks, that mound goes quiet for good instead of quiet for a fortnight. That is the difference between what you have been doing and what actually works. And it is not about buying a stronger product, it is about doing a weaker thing on purpose. In the second part of this video, I am going to give you the exact spoonful. I will tell you what goes in it, in what proportion, and the two mistakes almost everybody makes when they mix it, either of which will stop it working entirely. I will show you how to set it out so that it reaches the ants and does not reach your dog, your cat, or your grandchildren, because that part matters and most people skip right past it. I will explain the one situation where you should not use this method at all and should call somebody instead, and I want you to hear that one especially if you live down south. And then I will take you through the lawn repair, the 4 steps that turn that bare circle into the thickest patch of grass in your yard by the end of the season, including the one step that everybody leaves out, and that is the whole reason their reseeding never takes. Stay with me.